I'm pretty sure you have heard about scalability, and there are multiple terminologies associated with scalability. You may have heard people that they say that we can scale up, we can scale down. Somebody might say we can scale in and we can scale out. So let's go ahead and talk about scalability. I would quote something from my book which I authored. That book's name is called AWS Cloud Computing Concept and Technology, and this is coming from chapter 9. I scale to the moon and back, and that we are talking about scaling several resources, several types. What happens in this? Let's talk about it. So here a character is there whose name is Alex, and he is more into this comics and movies, and that is where he is talking about a character into a movie. That character is called the Hulk. That person is Dr. Bruce Banner. That is a normal human being. But when this person goes through emotional stress, that turns him into a muscular humanoid with immense physical strength. So that is what we can think of scale up. So he was a individual or a standard or a typical human being, but when he goes through emotional stress, he becomes a giant and he get lot of physical strength in him. So that is what is a scale up operation is. Talking in technical term, so we had a small server, we were running, let's say, databases on it, and now we needed more capacity, and this server had, let's say, 2 CPU and 4 GB of RAM. I need more capacity or performance. I could go ahead and say, let me replace you with a higher machine which has 8 CPU in that and which has, let's say, 16 GB of RAM, and my database would be now powered by this system. So what we did here is a operation which we call scale up operation. Let's say this was required for the flash sale we were running for a week. Afterwards, we do not need that much capacity. So we can then come back, and that will be a scale down operation which is performed here. So scale up is the capacity increase and scale down is the capacity decrease of that individual unit. That server has now less capacity or higher capacity. So that is your scalability. Means can you scale the system? What we discuss is a scale up and scale down operation. Similarly, what you can also do, you can perform something called a scale in operation and a scale out operation. This is mostly done when you add more capacity units rather than expanding capacity of the same node. Consider that we have one server as a web server right now, web 1. We need more performance to be delivered to a customer, or more number of connections are coming up. Either I can add more capacity to this web server, but there would be a physical limit how much CPU and memory a server can sustain. So what I'll do instead, I would add one more node of web server 2, I would add one more node of web server 3, and so on. And that is what I'm doing is a scale out operation. I'm scaling out my nodes, and then if I do not need that much capacity, I would then perform a scale in operation, ensuring that I remove unnecessary nodes and I just come back to my initial position. So that is what scale out and scale in operation is. And coming back to that Hulk example, I'm pretty sure you have seen this. So this person is Bruce Banner in the tradition into a typical day, but when it goes to some stress or some anger, he would be turning into Bruce Banner. That is a scale up operation. Now, so coming back to formal definition of scalability, scalability is the ability of a system to grow or shrink in a graceful manner. This is important, like without affecting the current user. I want to gracefully grow or shrink. That is what scalability is. It describes a design or architecture that is growth friendly. So we may have created architecture where we can add more capacity. A simple example could be, let's say we have a web server, but instead of directly exposing the web server, we have exposed it through a load balancer. So my users do not directly access web server, they access load balancer, and now that request forwards to web server 1. Now if I need more capacity, I could keep on adding more web servers here, and my users won't notice any difference. They would still be connecting to load balancer and getting their work done. Afterwards, once my work is done, I could go ahead and say, okay, let's terminate this one, let's terminate this one, and keep only one web server running. So that is a design or architecture that is growth friendly. Let's talk about some of the examples associated with that. So how efficiently a system performs when user traffic is increased multifold, right? Amazon.com, multiple users are accessing it on Prime Day. How will a database respond to higher volume of queries? How an operating system performs on a different type of hardware, that is all means is scalability. Same operating system was running on a 2 GB RAM, now it has been given 16 GB of RAM, so how it would work. So a scalable system perform with the same stability even if the load on it increases. So if my demand increases, no problem at all, I would be able to sustain it, and my scalability is ensuring as my time grows and my demand grows, I am still able to sustain all the things. That should not be a problem. Now coming back to the same type of movie example, let's talk about one more character who is Ant-Man. Scott Long is playing that character. So Scott Long is ensuring that this person has abilities through some suit he is wearing, that it can grow huge giant or it can become tiny, who can ride an ant or a fly. So that's what this person's capability is. This one I would say is an example of elasticity. He is elastic, means he can grow and he can shrink also if the need be. So that is referred as elasticity. Now these two terms sound similar, scalability and elasticity. I would explain it. Let me first talk about elasticity now. So elasticity generally refers to dynamic increasing or decreasing of resource. This is the keyword here, dynamic. In scalability, I planned that I would grow up to 10 server, 15 server, whatever. And when to grow, that is referred by elasticity. So an elastic system automatically adapts to match resource with demand as closely as possible in real time. Example could be adding more instances whenever web application gets a lot of traffic. So we planned that we will grow up to 100 servers behind our load balancer, but when to grow, that is what elasticity is. Handling peak traffic like Black Friday sale, scale infrastructure into your test and development activities and tear it down once test development work is complete. These are all example of elasticity. So scalability gives you the ability to increase or decrease your resources, and elasticity let you choose operation happen automatically according to the configured rules. So rather than somebody manually waking up in the middle of night and then performing these operations, we configure system in such a way that it is able to adjust to the demand. As the time progresses, demand changes, we are able to address it, should not be an issue in a automatic manner. So hope this thing is clear. How this elasticity and scalability apply in terms of AWS, we'll discuss that into next video.